Andreas. Shawn would love to be here. Maybe some of you already know him. I hope so that he's not watching us here now, right now, because it's too early there. So, for his sake. And well, I am an archaeologist. I just got, or I'm getting my PhD. I normally work on agent-based modeling, but also on any quantitative analysis in archaeology. I also have a background in sociology, so it's quite connected, although it doesn't seem so. And well, I'm showing you here a small side project, which could be big, but it's quite small still. It's just two of us. And we just spend little time on it. We are learning through the process, so it's not something that we like believe that we control every aspect. But I believe it's also quite useful both for archaeology and game design. So, first question maybe is how many people here know what is agent-based modeling? You can say, well, yeah, I imagine that half of you. Agent-based modeling is simulation modeling, so you do iteration of a process. It's not 3D modeling or some kind of other simulation where you don't have time. You could have some kind of simulation like that. But agent-based modeling is implying pass of time. And also the agent part is the fact that you have a population of agents, of individuals, who behave following a set of rules, maybe more than a set of rules, or several set of rules. But the main idea is that you program agents to behave in a certain way, and then you simulate how agents will interact with each other and with the environment. This approach is very like old in archaeology, actually, although it's not so popular as I want it to be. But you have here some examples. The presentation is online, so if anyone is particularly interested, every image here is clickable to the source, so you can explore the theme. We also have some links to blogs that talk about it, so you can also consult this. What is the big challenge on agent-based modeling? Just talking about archaeology and agent-based modeling, is the fact that models are very complicated. They tend to be very like complex in design. And also, on the other hand, you have lack of documentation. People that do models, they are normally techie guys like me, and they are normally spending a lot of time writing about what they are doing. So this is quite a problem when you are explaining to someone that doesn't know how to code, for example, or even archaeologists that control all the information on the case study, but they actually don't know not even what they can do with agent-based modeling. The implication of doing agent-based modeling like that is that the models end up being black boxes where you put some data in some cases, observations, even qualitative information, and then you get some output, which are the simulation, the results. This is, of course, quite problematic because you have articles are read, results interpreted, and sometimes they have quite a big impact. But also, you don't have any kind of engagement with the actual model, so people are just using the results. Agent-based modeling, from the game design perspective, they are games that play themselves. So for most of you, maybe the best definition of agent-based modeling is that one. I don't know if people from game design is aware of it, but the agent-based modeling, or the base core of the technology, is something that's quite common, actually. Doing, for example, the behavior of crowds inside a video game, or even in movies, they use that to like the battles, for example, no? to manage the soldiers. What if people could actually play an ABM archaeological model. So the idea here is if you have a problem of communicating those models, what happens if you actually use gameplay as a learning process to communicate this model, and also maybe get something from the game design side. No? So you have a mechanism that is quite informed by archaeological research. The idea is insert the human in the simulation. We have actually some examples. They are not exactly what we are looking for, but at least they give us some like antecedents. This, for example, is a sociological model, economical model from Schelling. Is quite known actually. The model itself is implemented. This maybe some of you know NetLogo. And it is included in the library that they have as examples. And you have here in the side some implementation of a kind of a game. Is more or less a interactive explanation of the model, and it's quite good. I recommend it if anyone have like 2 minutes to spend on it. It's very cool. It's about how people segregate in, for example, the city. No, they choose their neighborhood. According in this case only in 2 characteristics, and the main idea of the model is only a small bias of in this like tolerance towards diversity creates some kind of segregation. Another yet like familiar example, but familiar here because they know maybe people from the other conference, they will remember this Evolving Planet. They presented the game, which at the time was new. And here I'm not saying that the game is completely based on the Sugarscape, which is a model, it's beyond archaeology and sociology, it's quite general. But it's quite, has this taste of it. Sugarscape is just agent-based model where you have some resources distributed heterogeneously in a landscape, and then you have agents trying to get like a small economy on it. You know? So they restrict, they need to follow the resources. All those images are clickable, so you can like say if you are interested on the game, especially you can find it. I'm talking here about the model, the exact model that we took for a prototype is actually not our aim. So I'm not a specialist on neither the case study, neither the model itself. It was a model that I heard of it, but I never studied. But we chose it because it has a quite old tradition in archaeology. It has like 20 years already of development, so several versions and a lot of papers written about it. First of all, Anasazi, after 20 years, they are quite accepted that they are not called or should not be called Anasazi, but ancestral Puebloans. So the actual contemporaneous Puebloan community have claimed the Anasazi as the ancestrals of their kind or their culture. And Anasazi was actually the name that the Apache knows. Oh, another indigenous culture called them as the foreign enemy, ancestral enemy. So it's quite offensive to call them Anasazi. I'm calling here Artificial Anasazi because the model has been baptized with this name, so it's a reference to the model. The ancestral Puebloan culture was developed between New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado. They move a lot during the development of their culture, so there's not really a homogeneous distribution around this area. But the fact that the model is based on a small valley, relatively small valley on Arizona, so in northeastern Arizona. Here I just show you some examples. If you didn't knew this culture, is what what is all about. They were very famous in the 90s because they have this kind of sedentary, very developed settlements, and also because they suddenly disappear according to the first findings that they have on this culture. The model, as I said, focused on a specific valley, the Longhouse Valley. There are several publications. I just highlighted a couple of them here. And the focus of this model was to compare the archaeological record with the evidence of climate change on this area. So basically, increase on aridity. The main approach was that on the model. So the model itself is very narrowing, representing just demography, based economy, and especially within economy, agriculture. So there's no trade, for example, no kind of alternative activity for the population. This is how the model was implemented in this program, the NELOGO. It's not the original model, so it may have some differences, but the main idea remains the same, and the data, the original data, is still used behind the model, so it has a base for the model. Well, what do you want really to do with all of that is to create an immersive ABM. So the agent-based model being game mechanics, so you use that as a core for the game. What we were aiming for to turn the player into an agent, so not controlling all the agents, as Evolving Planet, for example, you have some kind of power over all the agents. Here we wanted to explore this first-person perspective. Ideally, VR, so we even tried consulting with some companies there in Canada, but yeah, of course, this a little bit wishful thinking. We still needed to have working prototypes to even think about it. But well, it's actually, even the prototype, it could be enough for just communicating the model, so the more academic objective could be used for that. How did you do it? Well, first had to translate the model, which is coded in NELOGO, to Unity. In my case, I just started learning Unity, so I choose Unity. Also complement and fill the gaps in the sense of the model doesn't specify a lot of things that games need. Well, and also set a game actually using this model. So the game needs to be something else. No? A lot of bonus goals, but there of course need more collaborators to do that. For changing NELOGO from Unity is just visually you can see the comparison, what happens, the code and the interface. You have here some showing the process of translating the model to Unity. This is just the base data that the mod uses. And also the generation of the landscape. We use DEM models, digital elevation models from actual satellite photos. So we can generate this valley. Also some fixed landscape elements, but of course all of that is just preliminary because they are just free assets that we use to have some kind of landscape. The model itself, the simulation, was working more or less as it was intended to be. The replication of the model itself allows us to understand the model, so personally understand better the model, but also reveal some problematic assumptions of the model and also hard to spot a mistake, so the bugs. No? So we found actually some of them that are quite important. So the simulation, for example, this is the example in a logo, simply in a logo corrected, after correction of the model, you got very different simulations. So, well, this is quite problematic when you have papers published, and actually there is one on Jared Diamond commenting on the results of the model. So it's quite problematic. And, well, we also created, added the possibility of this model deals singly with households, so we had to transform this representation into individual-based simulation. Okay, working title, because we have some inspiration on Quantum Leap. I don't know if few of you know this TV series, but was saying, wow, how can we gamify agent-based model? We have a simulation, 1,000 years of simulation. So it said, well, time travel is an obvious option, but also this idea of incarnating in someone and just living the role of that someone, although you have some kind of objective external to your reality. So there are very different approaches. The model actually tries to explore all possibilities using parameters, but the game actually tries to say we can modify these parameters from the individual perspective. No? You need to immerse yourself, explore, and discover this world. This is just to show some kind of design. You have like the gameplay, and then you have the simulation and a dialogue between the two. And you have this kind of incarnations. I call it here incarnation, but it's actually just you get the role of someone, a random person within this valley. I have some shots here just to show you. We did some kind of menu just to have a working prototype, background history also that Shawn put a lot of input in there. I won't explain here, but you have videos on YouTube, so you can see what they had done up to now. And then here the idea, you can see that character creation is not our strong suit, so we use the Unity default for prototyping, which I believe it's Zitan or something like that. And here you can see some like query about the data of this individual in the simulation. So we don't have a database for names, for example, just female name 3 or something like that. But you have the age, you have the lineage, in the sense that at the beginning you have only 14 households, so you have some kind of lineage throughout the thousands of years. And also some kind of like data on the household and whatever. And you have all ages, so this, I believe it's the more realistic thing that you could have in this kind of game is the fact that you are seeing actually families there, not only like in Skyrim. You know, you most of it see like people that are quite artificial. They even have some relation between each other, but they are not actually families or people living real lives, no, in that sense. You can see here, like, I just scaled down the same model so you can have at least some kind of visual about it. I show some more. The house, we got a model that we have lucky to find it. That is actual Puebloan house. It's not an ancestral problem, but it's just to have an idea. And you have this kind of limbo where you go after modifying the environment, and you go like you exit the actual simulation, see the results. And the results you can see like only the general population, so you don't have actually the detail about it. And you have also some kind of visualization of the space. So it's quite schematic and probably won't be that way. It's just that way because it's similar to the original model. But you can see here the kind of data that the household actually has inside and how it represents the individual. So it does like a vector of numbers. So the only thing that we are pending that is quite important is to close this cycle of the gameplay is the interaction with the characters. We need some, of course, the text, the background history for any NPC, and the mechanism of how to do the dialogue. And that's it. Sorry about the time if I...
Many questions there, but I think we're going to also wait with those to make sure that we try to stick a little bit within the time.